Okay, let's try to find the values of inverse trig functions. To solve inverse trigonometric function questions, we need to understand domain and range of inverse functions. In many cases, we use range a lot. So range of sine inverse is between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. And range of cosine inverse is between 0 and pi. The range of tangent inverse is between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2, but not inclusive. And range of inverse cosecant is between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. But 0 is not inclusive. And range of secant inverse is between 0 and pi. Pi over 2 is not inclusive. And range of cotangent inverse is between 0 and pi. Okay. Based on these domain and range, let's try first example question. Arcsin 1/2. We are finding arcsin. Arcsin is same as sine inverse. And let's set up an equation by using k. We can use any letter. The reason why we are using k is this. We better use the original function, not inverse function. So to go back to original function, we need to switch x and y again to go back to original sine function. All right, and k is used as y value. So k should satisfy range of inverse sine, which is between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. So k should be between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. And then you switch x and y so that we can use sine function. By switching x and y, we can go back to sine function, not sine inverse anymore. Yeah, so k is an angle which should be between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. This way. From negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. So we can use either Q1 or Q4. Do not use Q2 or Q3 because k is between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. And look at the equation. Sine k is 1/2, right? Positive 1/2. In quadrant 4, sine is negative, right? So do not use Q4. Now we know that angle K is in first quadrant. So in first quadrant, create angle K. And sine K is opposite over hypotenuse, right? Opposite over hypotenuse. So the missing leg, length of missing leg is square root of 3, satisfying Pythagorean theorem. And these numbers are ratio of 30, 60, 90 special right triangle. So angle K should be 30 degree, which is pi over 6. Okay, these two questions are the same, so I'm going to change these to negative 1/2, negative 1/2. All right, set up K. And then switch x and y so that we can use sine k equals 1/2, not sine inverse. K is an angle, right? K is an angle which should be between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. This way. So do not use these two quadrants. We know that sine k is negative 1/2. In first quadrant, sine is positive. So do not use quadrant 1. And we can make a right triangle in fourth quadrant because in fourth quadrant sine is negative. So angle K is here, which should be negative angle. And then use the ratio of sine. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So length of the other leg should be root 3. And we know that K is opposite angle of ratio 1, which is also 30 degree. But K is negative angle, right? So negative 30. So the answer is negative 30 or negative pi over 6. Next question, cosine inverse. Same thing. Every time we find inverse trig function values, we need to use K. Set up K. But in this case, K is y value of inverse cosine. So K should satisfy range of inverse cosine, which is between 0 and pi. So K should be between 0 and pi. And then you switch x and y to go back to the original function cosine, not cosine inverse anymore. Cosine K equals 0, right? Okay, K is an angle between 0 and pi, so do not use Q3 and Q4, okay? But 0 is very special value, right? So think of unit circle. When can you make cosine K 0? K equals pi over 2. Pi over 2 is between 0 and pi, so pi over 2 satisfies the range of inverse cosine. So answer is pi over 2, because cosine pi over 2 is 0. All right, arctangent. Arctangent is equal to tangent inverse, right? Set up K. Yeah, K is used as y value of tangent inverse, so we need to use range of tangent inverse. So K should be between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. All right, next step is to switch x and y to use original tangent function, not tangent inverse. So tangent K is equal to 1. Yeah, we need to choose right quadrant. Because angle K is between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2, we do not include negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. This is not sine inverse, but tangent inverse. So these two values are not inclusive. That's why I erased equal sign. Okay. K should be between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. Do not use these two quadrants. Tangent K is 1, right? So we should use first quadrant. Angle K is in first quadrant. Do not use Q4, because in Q4 tangent is also negative. And then use the ratio of tangent. Tangent is opposite over hypotenuse. So length of opposite over adjacent. Opposite over adjacent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So length of hypotenuse is square root of 2. And K is 45 degree, which is pi over 4.